There was a time on Guam when 4 double bells, such as those rung by Petty Officer First Class Kasusi, set a lot of things in motion. The band played, the colors were hoisted, the Pledge of Allegiance was recited, calisthenics for the school children began, and the workday commenced for the adults. Likewise, there was a time when the ship's bell was used for a variety of purposes: to tell time, to signal fall weather, and to use as a sound alert, among others. Sophisticated electronic systems are now used on board ships, and bells have been essentially relegated to ceremonial roles. But 70 years ago, when the United States Navy decided to name one of its 6 gunboats scheduled for service in China, the USS Guam, it stirred a lot of excitement on our little island. It energized the Guam Chamber of Commerce to mastermind a fundraising campaign to raise money for the purchase of a ship's bell and an accompanying plate as a gift to the ship from the people of Guam. Even today, $700 are a lot of money. Imagine raising that much in 1927, but that is what happened. Virtually every school child on Guam participated, with many children literally giving their only penny. For the next dozen years or so, the USS Guam was part of a river patrol of the U.S. Asiatic Fleet that cruised up and down the treacherous Yangtze River, now known as Changjiang, up to about 1,500 miles from Shanghai and the sea. It was a very chaotic period, with pirates, river bandits, revolutionaries, and warlords at odds with one another along the long river to the heart of China. The fact that gunboats of Britain, France, Russia, and the United States were all involved in one form or another of gunboat diplomacy did not sit too well with many of the Chinese. One can only imagine American reaction to an armed foreign vessel cruising up and down America's Mississippi River. In January 1941, the Navy changed the name of the gunboat to Wake in order to save the name Guam for a battle cruiser that was being built. War with Japan was looming over the horizon, and the U.S. gunboats were being followed everywhere they went in China. In the confusion during crew and cargo transfers in Shanghai, the ship's bell, the present from the people of Guam, disappeared. Following the liberation of Guam in 1944, Quentin Reynolds, one of the premier war correspondents of World War II, paid Guam this high tribute. These are real Americans. There were never any quislings on Guam, meaning there were never any traitors on Guam. These same words were frequently quoted in reference to the naming of a new battle cruiser in honor of Guam. Within a few days after liberation in 1944, a few of our local leaders hurriedly gathered on the beach to write a letter to the commanding officer of the USS Guam upon hearing that a second ship was to be given that name. Their signatures are well known. In their letter, they pointed out that although Guam's native population was only 23,000, over 1,000 of her sons were serving in the United States Navy. On September 17, 1944, a new USS Guam was commissioned, the second ship named in honor of Guam. She saw action in the Pacific and ended her service along the China coast, just as her predecessor did. She was decommissioned in 1947 and removed from the Navy list. On January 1965, Guam was honored a third time with the naming of one of the Navy's newest class of ships, the USS Guam, LPH-9, a ship specifically designed to transport 2,000 Marines with their combat equipment and helicopters to a combat area. Hence the name LPH, Landing Platform Helicopter. She has never been to Guam. That is not to say, however, that Guam has not been with her. Remember that bell that the school children of Guam bought for the first USS Guam station in China that disappeared? Well, somehow it reappeared in Marine Barracks at Sumai in 1954. No one seems to know how it got from Shanghai to Sumai, but it got there. In 1954, the commanding officer of the Marines presented the bell to the governor of Guam, who had it displayed in the Navis M. Flores Library for a number of years. In 1985, Governor Ricardo Bardayo, who was born the year that the school children of Guam gave their pennies for the purchase of the bell, journeyed to the Naval Shipyard in Philadelphia and presented the same bell to the current USS Guam. Its original home, the gunboat in China, ended up with a dubious distinction. After it was renamed the USS Wake, the former USS Guam was captured by the Japanese when they invaded Shanghai in December 1941. She was to be the only ship of the United States Navy to surrender in the entire war. During the past quarter of a century, many Guamanians have sailed on USS Guam either as Marines or members of the Navy crew. I'm very proud to say that at one time in my career, I was one of them. And now I'd like to request permission to leave the ship.